Hi everybody, as promised, here is my second DOSember video, and we're talking about obtaining all of the image files that you need to operate MAME, including ROMs, floppy disk images, hard disk images, CD ROM images, everything. So, let's get into it. So let's get started here. First, we're going to talk about ROM images. Now, this is a subject that sort of people online, on forums, mailing lists, kind of drives people crazy. They can never figure out exactly how to get ROM images. So I'm going to show you some pretty easy ways to find them. If you want everything, all of the ROMs, probably the easiest way to get a hold of it is to download what's called a full set. And there are two different sources for this full set. I'll show you both of those. The first one is this site here called Pleasure Dome. The second site is the Internet Archive. So let's look at Pleasure Dome first. You go to this page, you scroll down to full sets, and you download the torrent. Please note that at the current time in December 2022, a full set is approximately 70 gigabytes. So it's a lot, but it's probably worthwhile to just download it and keep it on your machine so that you have all of the ROMs for all of the machines. Okay, this is the Pleasure Dome page, and the first part up here, it has update sets. If you are starting out from the very beginning and you don't have anything, you don't want an update set. You actually want down here where it says full sets. Full set is all of the ROMs. So if you click on this link here, it will give you a torrent link, and you open that and you download the torrent. This is a full set of MAME ROMs, all 70 gigabytes, 71, 72 gigabytes, I don't remember exactly. So that's how you get started. Now, if you have already downloaded this full set at some point, the MAME ROMs update fairly frequently. So that's why they have these update sets. So if you last downloaded at version 249 and you want to update to 250, you get this torrent here. So this is an update to the full set, so that you don't have to download that 70 gigabytes all of the time. There are a couple of documents that you can look at that give you information about it. So that's how you get a full set from Pleasure Dome. You can also get a full set from the Internet Archive. The name of this one is actually called MAME Merged. And if you want to download it, you can get this torrent file right here. You download this one and you can torrent the whole thing off of the Internet Archive. Some of you may be asking, I don't want to download 70 gigabytes. Okay, all right, we'll get to that a little bit later. So this covers full sets, how you download those. Now we're going to talk about if you do not want to download a full set, if you only want to download ROMs for a specific machine, how you would go about that. So the example that I have here is what we're going to use in this demo because it's December. I'm going to use this CT486 machine, and you simply run this command list ROMs. What I'm pointing out here on this page, the very first line of output when you run the list ROMs command tells you what ROMs you need to download. You need to download CT486, ATKBC, ET4000, and KBMS Natural. You will find zip files with these names on it, and those are the ones that you download. So let's take a look at this. So as I showed, you do MAME CT486 list ROMs. And again, we need CT486 ATKBC, ET4000, and MS Natural. You do not have to go crazy all over the internet trying to find all of these things. You go to the Internet Archive, you download these 4 files, you're done. So let's take a look at that. So we're back here at the Internet Archive. MAME 250 ROM set merged. We can go to show all. We can go into MAME merged, and we can look for the files that we actually need to download. CT486.zip. Download this one. ET4000.zip. Download this one. ATKEY. Okay, we need this one. Download that one. And the last one was MS Natural, KBMS Natural. We download that one. We take the 4 files that we just downloaded. You drop them in your ROMs directory. You have all of the files that you actually need to run that particular machine in MAME. I'm just going to show one more thing while we're here. Let's go back to CT486. If you remember on our screen, it actually said we need chips.ami and this thing and this thing and this thing. Okay. Like these 3 here. Maybe these 4, I don't remember exactly. We'll take a look. Those are actually contained within the CT486.zip file. Just for completeness, we'll show this. So this CT486 file has this chips1.ami. Okay, the second one was ATK. We can take a look at this one. It has these files in it. These are the keyboard ROMs, etc. So we downloaded 4 files. It contains all of the required ROMs that you need to run the machine. Once you have that, of course, and you have dropped those files into your ROMs directory, you can simply run MAME and whoops, it'll pop up and the ROMs are here. Okay? So that's the first step, getting the ROMs. Now we're going to talk about how to obtain disk images for our CT486 machine. This information is also useful for other machines. So there are 2 different things that you can do. The first thing I'm going to show is I'm going to show MAME software lists. Software lists are a convenient way to get a lot of different software for your machine. You don't have to go hunting around all over the place. It's a set of software that you can download. MAME knows about the software, but obviously, if you don't want to go down the route of software lists, you can download individual disk images and attach them to MAME directly. So I'm also going to show you how to obtain MS-DOS installation disks, Windows installation disks, and some curated software from a very convenient source, so you don't have to go hunting all over the internet. So first thing, let's talk about software list, and I have two different sites, Arcade Italia and Spudlo. So first we'll take a look at Arcade Italia. Okay, and this is a software list view. We actually don't want to start here. Let's start at the machine that we're actually interested in looking at, CT486. All right, here we go. Here's the page for CT486. If we scroll down to the bottom of this page, it has software lists. Show software lists. So let's open this. So there are 5 different software lists, and there's actually a complete one, everything that's available for this machine. And if we open each one of these, we'll actually learn the name of the software list that we actually want to look at. So the first software list is called IBM 5150. Second one is called IBM 5170. The third one is called IBM 5170 CD ROM, IBM 5170 HDD. There's mini flop, and this is actually everything that's available for the machine. So IBM 5150, this list, and IBM 5170, these are floppy disk images. CD ROM is, of course, CD ROM images, HDD images, and mini flop. So these right here are the names of the software list. If we want to get a slightly different view about that, we can also look at the same information on Spudlo. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's look at the machines, CT486. Here is the same machine that we looked at before. Same information from the same source. It's just displayed a little bit more compactly. So these are the software lists that are compatible with CT486. So for example, we can look at 5170 HDD, and we can see what software we have available here. So we can actually go and download these individual images that have everything pre-installed. So let's take a look at how you do that. So before we go download the image, let's talk for a moment about software list hashes. As we showed on the website before, MAME actually has known images which people have created and uploaded, and they create a hash of the image. So that's actually how MAME knows whether you have the correct image or the correct ROM. But in order for MAME to actually know about all that software, you need to have these hash files, which you need to download and put in your hash path directory. So I don't know of an easy source for these. So now I'm here at the MAME hashes. We can just look for IBM 5170, and here we go. IBM 5170 hdd.xml. So this is the configuration file that you need in order for MAME to know how to find the software that's listed in here. The software that we actually showed right here. All this software is under IBM 5170 HDD. And this file describes all of those things. So if we look for MS-DOS 622 or something, they don't have one. How about MS-DOS 5? Yeah. So there's a hard drive image called MS-DOS 5 with this hash. And if you have the hash file and you download the image that goes along with this, which I'll show you how to do in a moment, then it's very easy to actually load this on your machine if you have this all set up. So to review, you have to have the hashes for the software list in your hash path directory in order for MAME to know about it. I'll show that in just a moment. The last thing I'm going to talk about before we demo a little bit is software list ROMs. What the software list ROMs means is you have to understand the difference in between the different kind of ROMs. The ROMs that we looked at before are what are like firmware ROMs. For example, we're talking about the CT486. There's an AMI BIOS chip. There's a ROM on the VGA card. There are ROMs on the keyboard controller. Those kinds of things. Things that you would call firmware. Another example, for a color computer, you have the basic ROMs. Those are not software. Those are firmware. You need those ROMs in order for the machine to actually function, for it to power on. Even things like the NES, they have ROMs built in that get the system started. So those are not software list ROMs. Those are just called ROMs. Software list ROMs would be things like cartridges, floppy disk images. In some cases, there are hard drive images that are needed for certain machines. In our case for PC, what they mean by software list ROMs are if there are any cartridges, like PC Junior has some. That's pretty much the only ROM-capable, cartridge-capable PC machine that I know of. In our case, we're talking about floppy disks. And we're talking about, specifically, the lists are 5150 and 5170. So, if you want to download all of the software list ROMs and floppy disk images, you would go to this site here, Pleasure Dome. Alright, so once again, Pleasure Dome has full sets. And this time, we're talking about software list ROMs. So you click on this one, download the torrent, you have everything. I believe this is approximately 80 gigabytes at the current time. So we're already talking about 100 something gigabytes of storage if you really want to have everything on your machine. But if you do that, it makes it extremely convenient because you can just refer to things by the name listed in the software list, as we explained just a moment ago. So the other site you can go to, of course, is Internet Archive. So let's take a look at that. So this is MAME software list 0250 merged. It says no CHD, which is fine. So you can download everything, or you can look at individual files. We go into MAME software list, and you would want to refer back to here. Again, we're back on Spudlow. Software list. 5150 and 5170. And we look at Arcade Italia. Floppy disk images, 5150. AT floppy disk images, 5170. So these two are what we're talking about here, 5150 and 5170. So if we go to Internet Archive, we simply look for IBM 5150. Okay, so this here is 498 megabytes for IBM 5150, and IBM 5170 is 2.9 GB. What's contained in those? We can just have a look at 5170, for example. So these names are all, if you download that zip file, IBM 5170, these are all the software which you can simply refer to by name. Pages and pages and pages of it. But again, it makes it very convenient. Okay, so you can download the individual files if you don't want the whole thing. You can also, in your torrent client, you can download this torrent as well. In the torrent client, you can go in and select, I only want to download some of it, and that's normally what I do. For this one, for this software list, it's 80 GB. I normally just download the whole thing. But for CHDs, I don't do that. Okay, so now that we have some of our software list items, what do we actually do with them? Well, let's have a look at that. So, what I can simply do is, if I happen to know, let's have a look at the software list here, 5170. If I happen to know that I want to load MS-DOS, and just look here. Let's load up MS-DOS 622 on our machine. So I literally type MS-DOS 622. This is method number 1 to do it from the command line. You folks know I am a command line user. Okay, I need to do a little configuration here. I did not give it a hard drive, so I have to get rid of that. Yeah, there's no hard drive. Yeah, there's nothing here. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a hard disk. That's okay. We can just go to a DOS prompt. Yeah, there it is. I'm running DOS. I could run the installer if I wanted. So this is just an example of using a floppy disk image. You can, of course, also go into the file manager and go to the software list, IBM AT floppy disk images. We can pick something else if we want. FreeDOS. Sure, why not? This is the installer. Just see if this works. Control-Alt-Delete. Wow. This is pretty cool and slow at the same time. I guess this is what you get if you draw graphics from a DOS batch file. Heh. Funny. Anyway, obviously this is working, so yeah, let's move on. So next we're going to talk about CHD images. Again, it's pretty much the same thing. You can download a full set or an update set from Dome. And you can also download the sets that are available on Internet Archive. So first, let's take a look at Dome. If you look down here, software list CHD's full set is here. So you can get this torrent, and also if you go to the Internet Archive one, it's a similar deal as before. You can get the torrent file here somewhere. I think the torrent file is available over here. Torrent, you can just download this one. Or if we go back to the software list here on Spudlo, then we can look at the 5150 CD ROM software list and the 5150 HDD list. Let's take a look at this one. This is the CD ROM one. They have a bunch of different games, some operating systems, Windows 95. The names of them are all here in this particular software list. And the HDD list is here. Similar kind of deal here. This time what we're going to do is, instead of putting a floppy disk image, we're going to put a hard disk image. Like so. Hard disk detection. Yes, except that one. I think it got the hard disk. It did. Let's get out of here. Should boot now. Yeah, and here we are. We're running DOS. From this time from hard disk instead of from floppy disk. So this concludes what I was going to talk about. How to get various kinds of ROM image, floppy disk, CD-ROM, and hard disk images. How to get them from the software list in MAME. And also an example of how to download the installation media. If you don't want to deal with the MAME software list, you can always download the installation media directly from places like WinWorld PC. So I think in my next video, I'm going to do a deeper dive into the IBM 5150 machine, the original IBM PC, and go more in depth into what emulating that machine is actually like in MAME. And I'll do the same for a few other machines. I'll have a lot of information about how to plug in different hardware, how to boot different operating systems, and do a whole bunch of different things like that. So should be pretty interesting. I hope you join me for the next one. Bye everyone.